So I really do want you to make it about you in this season of love. February is committed to loving one another, but I want you to lean into loving you. In fact, I want you to recognize that you can have more. You can do more of what lights you up, what makes you feel good, what you may even want to secretly do. And so I want to invite you because I want to empower and encourage you. I want to invite you to visit my website, imthegoodthing.com, because on there I have a video series that will help you make the moves towards what you really want. In this season, I want you to love on you. I want you to honor your hopes and dreams. I want you to do more of what lights you up. So visit the website and watch the series. I am going to cover 9 things that we should stop doing so that we can experience more of what it is we want. Keep loving you. Keep prioritizing you. Well, welcome to I'm the Good Thing, the podcast. This is the place where we unpack life wisdom. We pray, we affirm, but most of all, we discover our true beauty, our worth, and our power. I'm Denise Taylor, and I'm all about helping women build a life that they love. And that begins with us believing everything good about who God created us to be. Now, this is the place where we get energized in a God kind of way as we see ourselves the way God sees us. And let me tell you, sis, you are good. Our life wisdom for today is this: be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And when I thought about today's life wisdom, I was reminded of an experience I had just a few years ago. Our oldest daughter was studying abroad, and I traveled over with her to help her get settled in to Cyprus. Now, Cyprus is this very small island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. And when we got there, people were staring because as people of color, there weren't a lot of us on that island. And so one of my biggest fears as we were traveling in is I did not want us to arrive at nighttime because I was really concerned about the language differences. I wasn't sure if the signage was going to be good. There was just a number of things. And I just felt like arriving in daylight would be in our best interest. Now, there's a lot of factors that went into this story that's too long for me to share now. But essentially, we got there due to flight delays in the middle of the night. And my daughter was met by someone who was going to take her to her apartment. In fact, the guy had the keys, but due to our flight delays, he was quite frustrated because he had been waiting around all day for us to arrive. Long story short, it ended up that my cell phone was in a bag that went with my daughter. And I was headed to the rental car agency to get a car to have for during our stay. The disconnect from having access to my phone proved to be pretty traumatic. Without my phone, I didn't have a GPS. Without my phone, I didn't have a way to connect or call anyone else. And as I mentioned, it was the middle of the night. So I get to the rental car agency, and of course, they don't have a car with a GPS that can get me where I need to go. I had to travel about an hour's distance from the airport to the city where she was going to be staying. I have to tell you, the gripping fear that I had in that moment of being completely disconnected, trying to follow paperwork directions from someone who I didn't understand with a language barrier was completely overwhelming. And when we talk about being afraid and discouraged, I was overwhelmed with both. So as I get on the road to travel there, all I can think is, God, please get me there. And I was just as stressed out as I could possibly be. Now, I ended up on these windy roads and I got off course a number of times, and I found myself in the middle of the street, sitting in this car in the middle of the night, just really asking God to give me some clarity about where it was I needed to go. And I kid you not, there was a stranger who showed up in the street. Now, I was really concerned because I didn't want to get jacked, right? I am in a strange country. I am driving a nice luxury car. I'm in a neighborhood that looks a little kludgy. And so as the guy is walking down the street, I roll down the window and ask the question, do you speak English? It was a little surreal. And he looked at me and he was like, are you okay? I have no idea what look was on my face. It probably was just sheer panic. But he looked and he asked me to calm down. He told me that he was a psychology student and he could sense that I was at my tipping point. He gave me some directions to get where I needed to go. When I think about how I felt in that moment, how helpless I felt, how dark it was for me, how scary it was for me, how overwhelmed I was, and how uncertain everything was, God sent someone to help. So when I think of this life wisdom about being strong and courageous and not leading into our fears, and that He is with us wherever we go, it takes me back to one of the scariest moments in my life, where I was lost, literally, but I wasn't lost from God. He was there with me, and He sent me help to ultimately get me to where it was I needed to be. And sometimes we have life circumstances like that, where it feels completely overwhelming. It feels dark. It feels scary. It feels so uncertain. But I rest in my real life experience to really share with you that God is with you. Trust Him, believe Him, even when it's dark. Thanks for connecting with me today. And if this was a help to you, apply what stood out the most to your life. And if you've loved it, subscribe so you can meet me here next time. And if you were moved, then share this with someone else. Keep seeing yourself the way God sees you. After all, you are the good thing. And visit my website, imthegoodthing.com, for all sorts of good stuff. And I'll see you next time.